This is Ion Sullivan. I am your host, Mike McGuire, joined today, as we are each week, by the chairman, Rob Doherty. How we doing, Rob?
Hey, we're pretty good, Michael. How are you?
Well, outstanding. Tonight is the Super Bowl. Well, for the Dolphins, it's the NFL draft. It's their opportunity to mess up yet again.
Well, they've been doing a pretty good run on the last 25 years.
Yeah, but now they're influenced by the Green Bay Packers. We got the Packers coaching staff. We got Packers GM. So Dolphins have 11 picks in the draft. The Steelers have the most picks at 12.
Correct.
So it actually will be an exciting day for both of us.
Well, we'll see. I mean,
We'll see what happens.
Well, the Steelers do a very good job of getting those, who's that guy, players. We need to build our offensive line, obviously.
Yep.
I mean, people talking about wide receivers. I'm like, we have Metcalf and the kid from the Colts.
Yeah.
I mean, we need a quarterback is what we need.
Well, right now, Aaron Rodgers is holding the Steelers hostage.
Well, so let's say he played there last year.
Yep.
His former coach is now the coach there.
Right.
I believe that there's an agreement that, last year when they said the same thing, then film comes out later on that him and Metcalf were, running plays,
Right.
In California. So let's take it easy.
It's all good. So it's like that first robin of spring. It's everybody is maxed enthusiasm tonight as we look forward to the draft.
And it's in Pittsburgh.
It's in Pittsburgh, which will be exciting.
Which is a great city. Which we're going to in, I believe, me and my family are going there in July, I believe.
All right.
We're hoping to catch the Mets play.
Right.
And we're hoping to catch Paul. We're hoping that, he's one of the pitchers that night.
Yep.
And, see the best pitcher in baseball and the worst team in baseball at the same time.
Well, the Mets, I was pretty sure that they might run the table for the season, but they did win last night. So we're back on, and then of course in 2 weeks the NFL schedule comes out, and then we can plan the epic journey, which started off as you and your sons and me and my sons, and now literally there's about 20 people. When I mentioned it to you, we're in.
Yeah. So I mentioned to Craig Fleischman the other day.
Yep.
He's in.
Yep.
So,
well, goat Andy Caradontis and his wife are in, and we were having dinner the other night, and there were two other couples, and they're both in. so it's going to be an epic journey there. But we want to take a look at a situation. Our friends down in the town of Highland.
Okay.
And folks, there's always a concern about whether or not the fact of your status in a community makes you immune from the law.
Well, the supervisor down there has tried to insulate himself from the law.
Well, he has gone above and beyond, and there's an article in the River Reporter that was passed on to me today. It's written by Liam Mayo.
Who does a decent job?
Does a decent job. Liam is fine. I mean, I don't have any issue with the article. But what it says essentially is that a building that's owned by Mr. Pizzolatto, okay, well, it's not a problem.
And his husband.
Yep. Is operating without the proper permits. But what's important to me is that Mr. Pizzolatto has been aware it didn't have the proper permits.
So the second paragraph
right.
of
the
this
building
article,
currently has an unapproved water supply.
No, not currently. Okay? John Pizzolatto went in front of the planning board with a site plan and gave it to the DOH in January of 2023. We're now in April of 2026. I just want to be clear.
And since then, he's been the supervisor.
Correct.
So shouldn't he be held to the highest standard?
Well, he's done some things now.
All right.
So he went after Norm
Sutherland, chairman of the planning board.
Took him out, right? Removed him. Removed other people from there, okay? Then put in other people, okay? Then he's basically gutted the planning department, okay? And building department. Just absolutely gutted it. I mean, Alice Forster, just people that really know what's going on.
Good people.
Top-notch people that really know what's going on in the town, understand the law, and then just gutted it and put it in his own people.
Well,
you might want to say yes, people.
Yeah, well, and I know from firsthand experience that they came out with a new guidelines and law for short-term rentals, and you and I are familiar with that because
all too well.
There are many towns, and at the county level, we tried to get a unified law that everybody could pass. In fact, we drafted it even for them. But they put out these provisions.
But also remember our record on that. So my first year,
right,
in as a chairman of the legislature,
2020.
Okay, we took in $900,000 as a county,
right,
in bed tax,
right.
Okay. My last year, we took in $2.8 million. So we raised it, okay, threefold, okay, and I was still the bad guy to the SCVA.
Well, you were the bad guy to the SCVA. You raised that, and what we know is that more than 50% of our overnight short-term rentals are now through generically the Airbnb model,
correct,
not hotels.
Correct.
You saw that and you took steps to say, hey, we've got to bring these guys online because
correct,
we don't have the hotel rooms, but people are still staying.
Correct.
And you charged the county attorney's office with dealing with it, and we did very successfully.
A great job.
So now I know that down there they have people that have been approved on each of the criteria yet denied on a license to operate a short-term rental.
Because Mr. Pizzolatto owns a building that has, I believe, 4 rental
rooms,
units, and he doesn't want any competition.
Correct. That's my point.
So he's installed people to block people from doing business in the town, okay, which brings people to the area.
Right.
Creates sales tax because they buy gas when they get here.
Yep.
They drive around. They eat while they're here. They might become homeowners while they're here. They do a lot of stuff while they're here.
Sure.
And that's being blocked by people who are yes men or women to John Pizzolatto.
Well, and when official documentation is sent to the Town of Highland Planning Board saying, we understand you have the right not to approve this, but we also have the right to know why it wasn't approved.
Correct.
6 months later, they haven't even acknowledged getting the letter yet. They just ignore it. That's the way they're functioning. And yet, here we have the supervisor of the town, who should be above the fray, not above the law, is operating a building. Now, the River Reporter does a great job of creating the historical perspective.
Correct.
Because Mr. Pizzolatto and his husband operated a business in this building, and it was a limited business, limited under the Ag and Markets law, because they were aware of the water issue.
But Mike, it's more than that, okay? So they gave a site plan.
Right.
Okay? They were denied, okay? By the DOH also, by the way.
Right.
I want you to understand this.
Right.
They
Andrew
said,
Coulter.
Great guy, understands the industry, right? Turns around and says, we don't care. We're going to operate anyway.
Correct.
Okay? But now, funny thing about it, Manny Nyseg,
right,
in his campaign video, part of the video is in the Oasis, and they have Bacardi bottles in there and other, whiskeys and other things. That is not part of that license.
Well, it's not part of the Ag and Markets license.
It is not part of the Ag and Markets license. So not only did they defy the town, defy the DOH, they did defy the State Liquor Authority as well.
Now, according to the articles, according to the River Reporter, Pizzolatto offered to these new tenants the opportunity to continue to operate the way they were under the Ag and Markets law at that time it was for cider tasting.
Correct.
They decided, no, the new tenants, no, we want to run a full operation. And Pizzolatto, I guess, would tell us if he would come here that, well, okay, it's up to you if you want to run it. You're the supervisor of the town. You have to tell them, I'm sorry, I can't rent to you to operate a business unlawfully.
Okay, so John goes on to say inside this article that, they were aware of it and it's in the lease. You cannot put illegal things in leases.
No, it doesn't make it legal because it's in the lease.
Correct. It's still illegal.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what lawyer signed off on this, but if it's illegal, it's illegal.
That's it. I mean, you can't contract to engage in an illegal activity.
Correct.
It makes the contract null and void. Standard clause in most contracts that I do, including all the ones we did for the county, is if any part of this contract is deemed illegal, that part is out, but the rest of the contract is good.
Correct.
So I would assume that if an attorney did this, I don't know if they did or not, maybe Google did it, that provision was in there. Chat GBT, whatever it is.
There you go.
But what we've got here is the supervisor of the town turning a blind eye to a building that's in the shadow of his business that he operates.
Correct.
Operating illegally, nah, it's okay. Don't worry, I'll cover it.
Just make sure you make your rent payment on time.
By all means, make your rent payment on time. So that's very disconcerting when you see what goes on down there.
One of the quotes was, we were very transparent about where we were, what the situation was, and wrote it into the lease.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care what you wrote in the lease, okay? You cannot do that.
You can't write into the lease that we're not responsible if you're operating an illegal business. You're the supervisor of the town.
Correct.
You need to be above that stuff.
No, but see, Mike, this goes back to what we talk about with the legislature and other people.
Yep.
That their job is to get elected, okay, and then to enrich themselves.
Of course.
By levers of government.
Correct.
Okay?
The wink and nod.
They're the wink and nod. I mean, you know this for a fact, that when I was in office, I was losing money in my business to operate, okay?
Right.
To make sure the county was in good shape.
Right.
And then, you take the slings and arrows and you're like, wait, why am I doing this? Because I'm losing money doing this.
I think there were two wives that are close to both of us that were saying, are you two insane?
Correct.
Like, why are you doing this?
Correct.
Here's a quote that I highlight from it. While the Department of Health, acknowledges receipt of multiple site plans, information contained within the submissions is not sufficient.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter if you submit a site plan. If it's not approved, you can't then say, oh, no, we submitted a site plan. I mean, anyone who's been before a planning board knows that you often walk out with less hair than you walked in with, but that's their job.
So they were posting, those nice, fluorescent, yellow signs on the doors, and they were just ripping them off.
Sure.
Ripping them off. Throw them in the garbage. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Finally, and this is the scary part of it all, folks, is the DOH cannot just come in and shut you down.
No.
They have to work through the court system as well.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Whereas taxation and finance can. They come in and you're done. See you later.
Thanks for participating.
Right.
Okay? And they don't care if it's $148.
They don't care whatever it is. The padlock goes on your door and they only have the key to it.
Correct.
You're out of luck.
And so he goes on. So now these people invest in the business. I don't care what's in the lease. I'm sure they had assurances to say, hey, we got this. Don't worry about it. We operated for 2 years before you got here. Okay.
I'm sure also that they put enough in the lease to give them political cover.
Correct.
But you can't get political cover when you are turning a blind eye to a building that can't be operated.
Correct.
You walk in and you say to them, look, you got to shut down as that landlord, or you move to evict them.
Now, my question is, where is the ZBA board president? Where is the planning board president saying, this is an illegal operation?
Correct.
And why isn't the town taking action?
Where's the building department?
Where's the building department saying that this is illegal? Now, keep in mind, I want you to think about this for a second. So when BJ Gettle, okay, well-respected person, okay, honest.
She's honest to a fault.
To a fault, correct. You're like, man. So she puts 23 violations on them, okay?
Right.
2 of them are the water and sewer, okay? Because they're 2 separate issues, okay? Fusco Engineering, who works for the town,
right,
okay, comes down and gives them a letter saying all the violations were cleared. How do you give a letter on your engineer stamp saying that all this was cleared up when clearly the water and sewer was not cleared up
Water
yet?
and sewer has not. And the issue, folks, is that the water, the water line, the well, and the septic are too close.
Correct.
Every single town that you deal with has setback restrictions between wells and septics. We dealt with it at the county. It's one of the issues that the county can't just do what they want to do. You got to respect those setbacks.
Correct.
For good reason, folks. There's a lot of bad stuff in your septic.
And it's usually on an uphill grade. It's 100 feet, generally speaking.
Yep.
That's how most of them are. And it's hard to engineer them away when they're that close. Remember, it was a garage before.
Correct.
They washed their hands and used the toilet. It wasn't drinking water. It wasn't potable water. Okay?
Right.
So,
well, now they claim they bring in bottled water.
Really?
But, even if they do, masking the problem, as Mr. Coulter points out, is not solving the problem.
It is not solving the problem.
The water is still a problem, and now this operator has been here for a couple of years. A blind eye has been turned by Mr. Pizzolatto because he's more interested in creating stories about elected officials he doesn't like.
Correct. Oh, and collecting the rent check, by the way.
Oh, of course.
And collecting the rent check.
Sure.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
So there's a financial gain for him in this.
No question.
Right?
No question.
So he has no site plan.
Right. No approved site plan.
No approved site plan. He has 23 violations. Okay. And all of a sudden, everything's crystal clear, right? By Fusco Engineering, who has an engineering stamp.
Yep.
But clearly it's not. So
clearly it's not.
So now does Brown and the other party go after Fusco Engineering?
Well,
how can you
I wouldn't render an opinion on that, but I can tell you that this just doesn't pass the smell test.
It doesn't pass.
You cannot allow a tenant to go in and they say, "Yeah, we don't care. We're gonna." Well, I'm sorry. I'm the town supervisor. I involved with the chamber. I own a business here. We just can't endorse you.
But this is what happens in these small towns.
Yeah.
This is why you need to elect honest people. Okay, I say this all the time to people. It's not whether you like them or you don't like them. When I vote for someone, I try to vote for the most honest person, and I'll tell you why that is. Because I'm not watching them all the time.
Correct.
When they're in the back room discussing something, blah blah blah, I want to make sure that my interests are protected. And if the person's honest, I'm pretty sure my interest is going to be protected.
Now, I don't know this for a fact, and I'm not casting any aspersions, but my guess is that Mr. Pizzolatto was aware of this situation before he was elected.
Of course he was.
And there were violations that were there before he was elected.
Correct. That's why he fired B.J. Gettle, okay, because of her honesty, okay, and then started replacing people in the building department that were there for well over a decade, okay, and started replacing people on the planning board and the ZBA board because he wanted what he wanted, and he didn't care about moving the levers of government to get what he wanted.
Or, indeed using the levers of government to distort reality and get what you want.
Correct.
So it's a real problem, folks, and it's a problem. Look, even in the very small towns, we have dedicated building departments, and they go out, and for the most part, the towns are looking to remove blight and make sure it's healthy and make sure it's appropriate and to have a standard. And here, we've got an elected official that oversees the building department and is the chief executive, and he's turning a blind eye to a place that's right there on Route 97.
Can't miss it.
For everybody to see.
Well, it was D&H Auto forever. I mean,
right.
The guys did a good job there for 30 years, right?
Yep.
So one of the quotes, towards the end of the article is, "We're working to get it up to compliance that could be used for anything. It could be used for a bar restaurant. It cannot. It could be used for a traditional gas station. I don't know about if they're going to let you re-drill those pumps that close to the water, but that's another story. It could be used as a shoe store or a garden center. Really want to get it approved up to snuff for everything." You've been doing this since January of 2023.
3.5 years.
Okay? And you're no closer than you were then.
Well, again, what he's doing is they're trying to cover. You know what the problem is. If you want it to be able to be used for anything, you're going to have to put an investment. There are septics that can operate in very small area. I remember that we had an issue up in Parksville where you had the ice cream stand
remember that,
and the pizza restaurant and then a another parcel of real property. All were owned by the same person.
Correct.
Fiddles.
Correct.
Everybody knows Fiddles. They didn't do anything wrong. But the septic was on a separate parcel.
Correct.
It was on that third parcel.
I remember this.
Well, what happened is guy goes to the auction and says, well, I don't need that vacant land. He buys where the pizza shop and the ice cream stand are. And guess what? You have no septic.
Correct.
Because you have no easement.
Correct.
Going over to the other property. And I mean, now Bruce Davidson owns that property. And we had engineers that came in and said, it's not going to be cheap. But even on that small parcel, you can engineer a proper septic system, but it's not cheap.
Well, they have above ground septic systems.
Correct.
Now.
There are things. There is technology to make that land usable. Well, Mr. Pizzolatto, may I suggest to you that you own a piece of property that
is in that situation?
It's in that situation. So I suppose you could tear down the building and use it as a parking lot. But if you are saying we want to get it to where it needs to be. Well, you've known that because even when he ran a business himself, he ran it under the Ag and Markets Law where they were very limited in what they could do there, as opposed to running it as it is now, where it's under the auspices of the Department of Health, where now the septic and water has to be fixed. So to say we really want to get this done, well, how about we've retained the engineering firm of ABC Engineering, and they're designing a septic so that we can get this back online. I don't see that in the article.
Because it's not accurate.
It's not accurate. It's not what he wants to do.
Well, that's what Johnny does. It's all smoke and mirrors with him all the time.
Right.
We saw this with Sue.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We saw this with Sue Hoffman.
Yep.
We saw this with the $70,000 report. Right.
We saw it with the predecessor of Sue, who retired with an agreement to get health insurance, and then he took it
Lauren
away.
Hansen, correct, and then took it away.
Yeah.
Correct. We saw this with, monies in the highway fund that mysteriously disappeared. We saw it with, silly things like, promising the guys in the highway department 6% raises, but not, tacking that on to the insurance also.
Right.
So the town's in a fiscal mess.
He bought the building to make a parking lot that the parking lot that they wanted to build wouldn't fit.
Wouldn't fit, right? And then the building's still standing on a Russ grant, by the way.
Yeah.
That I believe one of the people in the county attorney's office said, "Oh, the dates don't matter."
Well, they matter.
Okay.
'Cause that's why they're in there.
And then I asked that person, well, then why are they in anything? Take them out of everything. Take them out of every contract. We don't need dates anymore.
If you're not going to have dates, then take them out.
Take them out.
You don't need extraneous information.
Correct.
So we're going to keep an eye on this situation down there, because this is the kind of stuff that gets done, and these aren't the Baltimore Colts. This is not going to get done in the dead of night. Here comes the approvals.
The one thing after reading this article, I can tell you, Mel Carney, has been right the whole time.
Well, as we see at the state and national level, you get people are trying to turn the light on, and they're positioned and classified and characterized as the crazy person,
or a bad person.
with the political agenda.
Ooh.
And they're correct.
Correct.
We saw that at the county level.
Correct.
We see it at the national level.
It's funny. I was talking to someone today, and they were talking about, and that's our next topic. They were talking about county executive. Right. And so they were like, oh, I think we need a county executive. I said, we don't need a county executive. We need, the legislature to do their job. Right. I mean, we can go back to the Lenny Binder, legislature that was an absolute mess.
Correct.
Okay. Then we go to Scott's legislature.
Yep.
Okay. Absolute mess.
Yep.
Okay. Then we go to Louis' legislature. Okay. Absolute mess.
Good at spending, though.
Okay. Oh, good at spending, because they overspent their revenues 4 years in a row. Okay?
Without resolving contracts.
Without resolving nothing, right? Oh, yeah, by the way, on contracts.
Right.
Just real fast, because you understand them, right?
I've been down that road.
Okay. I understand them a little bit, but, So my question is, if you're off by $10 million in sales tax, okay, and you only raise taxes 2%, how do you give out what I feel is a minimum of a 3% increase?
That's a problem.
Okay?
That's a problem.
I mean, okay. I mean, I did well on my geometry regions, my algebra, the geometry, the trigonometry. I did all right in calculus.
I can't say the same for geometry, but that's okay.
Okay. If you're down $8 million from where you projected to be, okay, and you told us you were going to be because they said it's not a good contract for us.
We don't agree with this contract.
Okay.
The chairman of management budget said it's not a good contract.
Not a good contract, okay? Then you only raise it by 2%.
Right? Because politically, that's what you had to do.
Okay. How about the right thing, Mike? How about we try that?
But the right thing is get elected.
Okay, so if inflation is 3%, you have to match it, right?
Of course.
You have to match it for the people. I mean, what are we doing here? We're asking people to work for us and go backwards?
Of course.
All right?
Well, they let him take how many zeros on a 7-year contract?
I remember that. Hey, we settled a 7-year. No, you didn't. You didn't settle a 7-year contract. You took a 3-year contract and made it a 7-year contract and gave him a couple of zeros.
And absolutely hammered the employees.
Correct. So anyway, so how does the county employee? We're just asking to stay afloat, right? That's all they're asking for.
That's
okay?
all.
Right. So how do you get them to 3%? Right?
Yeah.
How do you get into 3% if you're only raising taxes by 2%, okay? And you're off by almost $8 million in your estimation because you wanted to look like a nice guy.
So you got $8 million down.
Yeah.
You got other costs going up.
Correct.
And you're going to give them 3%. If everything stayed flat and you didn't lose the revenue, you still couldn't give 3%. You
still couldn't give 3%. So where does it put the county employees now?
That's pretty advanced math, though, for to ask folks to figure it out. So I had an opportunity to speak with one of the legislators earlier this week. They do call me from time to time.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Even though they didn't want me down the hallway. Anyway, person will remain anonymous because they were invited to come on, but they're afraid of coming on. And they're talking about this county executive situation, and we have talked about it here in Eye on Sullivan before. It's been something that's been floating around for, I think it was floating around since before Mike Schiff was sheriff even. I mean, we're going back more than 20 years.
Okay, let me tell you. So the people who push this generally are people that did not grow up here, okay? Like the person who's pushing it now is another John Pizzolatto, okay? You see what happens when you let these people into office. You know, kind of like Greg Goldstein,
right? Who
took out the Republican majority,
right?
Said he did, all right?
Happy. He says that was their objective.
Right, correct. Yeah, we're better off today, right? It's on a WJFF interview. You can put in Greg Goldstein, WJFF interview,
You're going to hear
it'll pop up, okay? Took him out, okay? Took us out, right? And then sits there and complains about the state of the county, right? I'm sorry, you did this.
I think you did this. I think this was the objective. But you said it was the objective.
When you put those people into office that have no clue, here's the worst part. People that have a history of no clue, all right? You know they have no clue. You put them into office, okay? The guy who's pushing this is Bill Liblick. That's a fact, okay? They say, oh, look at these other counties, right? And they hand out a map today, right? So they hand out this map today, and they say, well, look at these counties. Well, let's go over the counties that have it.
Okay, so you got Nassau and Suffolk.
Nassau and Suffolk. We're nothing like them.
We are nothing like Nassau and Suffolk.
Okay. Then you get into, you can't count New York City because it's a different animal, okay?
Right.
But then you look at these other counties, okay?
You got Putnam.
You got
Westchester.
Dutchess, Westchester, okay? Orange, Rockland. Okay, by the way, all MTA counties. Okay?
And for our audience benefit, what is an MTA county?
So
because this is important, folks.
Okay, so the MTA, that means that you have the right to work in New York City, okay? The law states that you're supposed to be one county removed from New York City.
Which would be Westchester or Rockland.
Correct. No, not even Rockland. How do you get to
Rockland is the border because you got New Jersey in the way. You got Westchester.
Yeah.
I grew up in Rockland. I forget you had to go through Paramus.
So they have expanded it, right? To Dutchess, to Putnam, and Orange County. Not to Sullivan. And you can look at, okay, you can go back and look at the research because I have done this, okay, and look at the financial success of those counties. Literally took off, okay, when they become MTA counties. That means that people that work in New York City, teachers, cops, firemen,
bus drivers, subway
people, anyone that works for the city of New York, okay,
right,
can now live and work in those counties.
Right.
Okay? So you're talking about people who are making upwards of $200,000 a piece.
Yeah.
Okay? So they're willing to do the commute, okay, which they want them to do because they want to collect, A, the tolls.
Sure.
Okay? And B, they want to collect the sales tax involved in that.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
Because you get your coffee, you get your egg sandwich, whatever, and you buy your gas, and you're wearing out vehicles.
And you're using if you're taking the train out of Middletown, you're taking the path.
Correct.
So you're the MTA is getting tremendous amount of revenue.
Correct.
So sure they want to encourage that.
Sure.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Right.
So when they're saying we should become one of those counties, okay? Now, of all those ones that we just named, they all have a city in them, by the way, except for Putnam.
Well, Rockland doesn't have a city, but Rockland is a very densely populated county, and a very wealthy county.
Oh, by the way, what do you think the average home in Rockland is?
I'm sure it's over 450,000.
Oh, I'll guarantee it's over. What do you think the average household income is in Rockland County?
I would say probably in the $300,000 to $400,000 range.
Correct.
It's got to be. I mean,
we have 20%.
I grew up there. I know what my parents' house sold for 20 years ago.
We have 20% of the people in this county in poverty.
Right,
okay?
Right. Our average household income here is around $64,000.
Correct.
And that's average. And the average isn't really a reflection because we have certain areas where there's pockets that are higher.
Yeah, correct.
So the majority of our county, I mean, and just think of this, folks. At a $65,000 household income, your take-home pay is about $3,000 to $4,000 a month.
Correct.
By the time you pay your mortgage, your taxes, your electric bill, Matty Niceeg's taking his part of it. There's not a lot of money left over.
Not to worry, he lives in a gated community.
He's all
good.
set.
He's good. Don't worry about him.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you look at the other counties, right? You have Albany, you have Rensselaer, you have Onondaga, you have Madison, Monroe, which has Rochester.
You got Erie.
You have Erie. You have major, counties.
Yeah, major cities.
What is the advantage to it? We can't afford to pay attention here. These guys are going to be down $8 million now, in sales tax alone.
The important thing here, people need to understand, is that very early in our tenure, you didn't take a position pro or con, but you said this is an issue that's out there in the public, correct, and we need to learn a lot about it. Folks, let me tell you, let me take you inside baseball. There was very few days that went by that Mr. Daugherty didn't walk into the county attorney's office and pose a hypothetical about a county executive situation. He wasn't advocating either way. He was just saying, well, what would be the effect of this happening or that happening? Bottom line, you've spent 6 years studying this.
Correct.
And I just wonder how many people on the legislature today have really studied it. I don't think many have.
A decade ago, I went to Mark Baez, the partnership. Said, how do we become an MTA county?
Right.
Okay? Because it's not just about the trains, there's buses also.
Sure.
Right? Is there a way so that we can become an MTA county?
Right.
Think about the wealth that would come in through Mamakaden, Thompson, Fallsburg.
Sure.
You would bring in great wealth, okay? So Josh looked at that also. The county, Josh Potosik, the county manager, looked at that. And we tried to figure out how we could become a county, an MTA county, and then becoming a county executive county would make more sense. We just don't have the money.
Well, or the gene pool. Now, I had an opportunity. We know Lori Aristano James.
Know her well.
We love her well. And she stopped me in the lobby of the government center the other day, and I don't think that she would have a problem with me saying this. In fact, I invited her on. She'd want to come on. And she said, well, I disagree with you on the county executive situation because, well, she said, I disagree with you. And I said, well, I respect all views.
That guy's calling.
Not a problem. But tell me why. And she went on to say, well, I don't think it would be as expensive as you say it will be. Folks, it's not too expensive is what... This is not against Lori, who we love and is a bright person, and she and Bill have been very active and positive in the community. But that's the argument that I get from a 14-year-old. Well, Dad, it's not that expensive.
Yeah,
Tell me what the benefit is, not that the cost is not all that much.
Okay. I'm going to feed the dog every night and walk him, okay?
Right.
And then Mom's walking the dog and feeding the dog every night.
Correct.
Okay?
Yeah.
Hey, so it is that expensive, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, your sweetheart, the newly elected Kathleen Lara, she's out. She's out.
Correct.
You're going to a comptroller now.
You're going to a comptroller now,
okay.
And it's all under the direction of the executive branch.
Correct.
So she's completely out. But again, I'm yet to hear anybody tell me what can we do to move the county forward by having a county executive that we can't do by having a county manager and a legislature. And to the 9 members of the legislature, your role will be diminished to near zero.
Oh, by the way, so when Ulster County became a county executive,
right,
okay, they cut the legislature in half.
Correct.
Right? Mike Hines came in, was like, okay, blah, blah, blah. All right, half.
Right.
Half, okay? And by the way, I wouldn't mind getting rid of 4 members. Trust me when I tell you.
Right.
I'll sign up for the county executive tomorrow if we get rid of 5 members, okay?
Right.
Trust me, or 4 members. Trust me when I tell you.
Well,
okay?
if you tell me the advantages, and I've got an open mind, I'll listen to what the advantages are. Then tell me, over the next 20 years, can you please list that? Because over the next 20 years, those people are all adults working now. Could you please tell me, list all the people that you think could be a county executive here? Folks, I've got to tell you.
Tell me who could be a county executive today.
There's probably legitimately, in my mind, the number is 5 or lower, and one of them is apolitical and will not run, and that's the most qualified is Josh.
Correct. So I say this all the time. We have the best person run the county right now.
Correct.
Okay. There's no one that
the best combination, because he and Michelle together are a good combination.
Correct. So we have the best person running it.
Right.
The problem we have, and I've laid it out several times. You go from Lenny Binder to Scott to Louie to me to now Nadia. What's the difference in all of them? I was the most successful chairman in the history of the county. That's a documented fact.
Well, you were there.
Okay.
You were there.
I worked a job as a full-time job.
60 hours a week and served as the chief executive.
And we had legislators like Mikey Brooks, like George Conklin, okay? We had Alan, who had a reservoir of knowledge, okay? That read the resolution and were prepared, okay? The questions I see being asked, you didn't read the resolution.
Right.
Okay? Again, you get them on Friday. You have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, where you could walk around the halls and ask questions for them, okay?
And you can make phone calls to most of the commissioners on Saturday and Sunday.
Correct. I've never had my call not picked up.
Right.
Okay? To this day. Okay? They're not... The problem is the legislature's not doing their job. That's the issue. It's not the county manager that we need to elevate him to a job, to a job with more power, okay, and create another branch of government. And again, I asked this 1,000 times. When has more government ever been the proper solution?
It's not, and it's interesting that you've got the legislature that's advocating to give an individual more power, yet they don't give that power to Josh. One of the things that you did is you said to Josh, you run the county. If we're concerned, we're going to come and talk to you. And I want to tell you, folks, there were some spirited discussions that I needed a whistle and a striped shirt to referee a couple times, but it wasn't personal.
No, that's the whole point.
It was never personal.
Okay, so I told Josh, we will not fire you unless you steal, blah, blah, blah.
Right, commit a crime,
okay. Right, correct. Then obviously I have to. But otherwise, we're with you 100%, okay?
Right.
There will be some closed-door sessions, make no bones about it.
And there were.
Okay. And there was 4 or 5 of them, okay? And my first day in office, I walked up to Josh, go into his office. You know the routine. You know,
sure.
You know how it's set up.
Yep.
I said, if you were king for a day, what would you change in this county? What do you want to do?
Right.
Okay. I said, don't give me an answer. I'll come back in 2 weeks and you give me the answer. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then 2 weeks went by. I come back. He says, this is what I would do. Okay. Mm-hmm. We talked about it amongst our caucus. We're like, we agree on 8 of the 10 points.
Right.
Okay. So then we would go about our business. And then over a 4-year balance, there's some things that you just don't agree on.
Right.
Okay. But now Josh is like, I think this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay. And we would have an open discussion about it.
Right.
And I would assure Josh, say whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
You will not be fired. Okay.
Right.
You can speak your mind.
Mm-hmm. Agree or disagree, doesn't matter.
Disagree. Point by point, we will go on how we're going to handle this. Okay. We never walked out of that room with bad blood.
Never.
Never, ever. We never, obviously, he didn't get fired, right? Obviously, we came to a solution. Mm-hmm. And it was never, see, that's the biggest mistake about me. People think that I'm a bang a hand guy. I'm a, how do we get to where we are both in agreement?
Right.
Okay. And I believe in concessions and I believe in negotiating, and there's some things that you want, some things that they want. Okay. And then you get closer to the middle. Right. And in the Republican Executive Committee, first thing I say, the start of every meeting. Okay. When we're discussing, we just did our bylaws. Okay. What do we agree on, right? And then we go through the points of what we agree on, okay?
Right.
Okay, we agree on these 5 points. These 5 points we don't agree, okay? So now let's take them one by one, okay? Are you unmovable on this? Which ones are you unmovable on? Okay, you're unmovable on these 2. I'm unmovable on these 2, right? We have 1. Let's come to a consensus. You come to a consensus. Now, your unmovables might not fit into that equation, so now you have to figure that out.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And then you come to a conclusion. And I'm still friendly with Josh today.
Sure.
I mean, I still have conversations with him. Not a lot about local stuff, his kids, his wife, life in general. And, we remain friends, through the years. I'm still friends with most of the people I worked with in the county. Because it was never... F you, this is what I'm doing.
Never.
And that's the problem they do now. They bang their hand and say, this is what I want. That's the power they want. They don't want solutions, or they don't want to do the work to come up with a solution. They just want the power to say, this is what we're going to do moving forward.
And yet they advocate a county executive, and they're going to lose their power.
They're going to lose all their power.
All of it. I mean, they're going to be the purse strings.
Correct.
That's it.
But even that,
it's pretty limited. What are you gonna do? You're gonna cut DPW?
Come on, stop.
Gonna bond for roads? What are you gonna do?
Oh, we're gonna be bonding for roads soon.
So the county executive discussion will go on. We certainly invite anyone that wants to come on with a contrary view. We're happy to debate it. Rob has studied this for a long time. I've been a part of the discussions for a very, very long time, and it's going to cost some money. The amount of money, maybe we can debate it. But does this county need to solve problems by spending more money and creating more government? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think we need more discussion. I think we need legislators prepared to do the work. They're currently not prepared to do the work.
Right.
Okay, don't sit there and tell me we have a budget problem. And the head of OMB, okay, which is Brian McPhillips,
right,
doesn't have one meeting, right, with one of the 5 biggest departments in 2 years of budget of the budgetary process.
Right.
Not one meeting.
Right.
I mean, what are we talking about here?
Exactly. There's a lot more to discuss, and here at Ion Sullivan, we want to take a leadership role in having that discussion, and we want to hear from contrary views. If you want to leave us a comment, go right ahead, leave us a comment. You want to send us an email, ionsullivan@gmail.com. If you are watching us on YouTube, be sure to
smash
that like button. And again, leave us a comment, and we will continue to keep an eye on this county executive situation. So on behalf of the chairman, Rob Doherty, this is Mike McGuire, thanking you for joining us. We'll be back soon with another episode of Ion Sullivan.